Okay, Paul, we're recording. Welcome. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Beautiful sunny day today. Not a cloud in the sky, so I'm happy.
Definitely. Well, hopefully we won't ruin your mood then. I thought we could talk about couples financing for couples.
Money in relationships. Okay.
Yeah, can be a bit of a thorny topic, obviously. So I wanted to see what advice you had, basically, to try and avoid some of the incendiary aspects that can come up with that. So I guess let's begin when a couple gets together and are firmly together and want to start combining their finances in some way. In your experience and opinion, what's the best way to kind of go about that to minimize any potential conflict later down the line?
Talk. Talk. I think the key to any relationship is discussion, open, free communication. And that's not dictatorship. That's not telling someone the way it should be. Because when our values are aligned, we're in the flow. We're working. So when things are going right, typically it's because you're doing things that are important to you. So your values are aligned. And what we want to try and do is get you both parties to the relationship on the same hymn sheet for value. So what's important to them in life. So ask yourself the question, what's important to you in life? Or what's important to you about money? And that will tell you what's important to you, and that will tell you your values. And therefore, if your values are aligned, you have happiness. When your values are in conflict, you have contentment. You have you can do it for so long, and then it's going to come to an argument. So, what can they do? They can discuss. They can talk. The second thing they need to do is they need to plan. They need to make sure that their future vision, their future self, their vision of what they want the future to look like is similar. That's never going to be identical because our brains are an amazing machine to create a vision and create all these sort of images independently. But are we on the same hymn sheet? Do we want to remain in the same area of the country? Do we have the same sort of idea of career path? Not the same for each other, but the same as a couple. For example, is it my intention to continue working to retirement? And is that the intention of my wife for her or my partner for her to continue to work until retirement? Because if I've got a brain idea that actually, I'm going to work until I'm 40, then I'm going to stop and I'm going to travel the world. But my partner's got a vision of actually working through to retirement and raising a big, happy family. There's conflict there. We need to get that ironed out before we even get into bed with money, really.
Okay. All right. Communication, obviously key, definitely. Do you have any systems that can help? So, for example, if Andy and Sarah have been together a while and they're going to combine their finances, and Andy earns 20 grand and Sarah earns 35 grand, is there a way of kind of meeting in the middle somewhere with that? Do you have any recommendations?
Yeah, sure. Okay. So before you dive into that, which I'll make sure I cover, the first thing you want to do is go to the website, warranty.com, and download the Compelling Vision Workbook. So and each do that individually. So if each individual in the partnership or the relationship writes down their compelling vision and their goals, and then discuss it and see if we're on the same hymn sheet. Make sure that there is some kind of future vision that you can both work with. Okay. Then once you've done that, you then need to have discussion about how are we going to manage money. And generally there are two ways in which we can manage money. We can manage them jointly, we can manage them individually. And I've seen both systems work. I personally, in my relationship, we manage it jointly. It's one big pot because money itself is not a high value to us. It's important, but it's not a high value. Some people, money is a very high value and they want to control it, and therefore they manage their money independently. Do you understand what I mean by managing jointly or independently?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So whether you have one bills account and everything goes into the pot and we pay all the bills together, or we have separate bills account and we pay our bills individually. You've got to ask the question to each other, what's going to work best for us? And you've got to make sure that you almost go to the lowest common denominator, because you don't want to be butting against values. You don't want to be going against people. You want to make sure things are working smoothly. And then we have the bank account system, which there's a video on the YouTube channel, and there's also some information on the site about it. The bank account system automates and takes routine thought out of daily decisions. And it makes life so much easier for individuals and couples. And the way the system, do you want me to explain the system a little bit now? Or?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, please.
So the way the system works basically is you have your salaries, and your salaries are generally paid. If you manage your money jointly, your salaries are generally paid into the bills account. So all of your income goes into the bills account. So whether you're earning 35,000 or 20,000, your monthly salary gets paid into the bills account. And then from the bills account, each month you'll have direct debit or regular payments going out to meet all of your fixed or regular payments. So things like utilities, rent or mortgage, any life insurance payments you might have. One of those payments will also be a wham payment. That's your walkabout money. That's your daily spending money. And you pay this to yourself on a weekly basis. It's on a weekly basis on a Wednesday. And that payment gets paid from your bills account into your wham account. And from your wham account, that's where you spend all your variable spending. So from your bills account, all of your outgoings are taken out, and your regular cash money is transferred into your wham account. And that's where you spend weekly. And that's for your variable spending. So you would each have your own individual wham account. So I think that's important, whether you manage your money jointly or independently. And the reason I say that is because we don't want big brother policing. So we don't want one of the members of the relationship saying, wow, you spent a lot of money on that. Or wow, why didn't you waste money doing that? It's not for someone to decide for somebody else what's important for them in life. But it's important we have a strategy, a plan in place so that our money has worked smoothly. In a relationship, typically you'll tend to find you have a saver and a spender. It's just the way it goes. It could be the man is the spender and the lady is the saver, or it could be one of them is a spender and the other is a saver. It doesn't matter what the relationship. Typically in a relationship, rarely are they both savers. Sometimes they're both spenders, and then you do have challenges. The bank account system, if you're running your money jointly, all of the money into one account, all of your regular bills, including your wham, goes out of that same account. And then from your individual wham accounts, that's where you have your weekly spending money. And you get to spend that money on any variable expenditure. So anything from buying a cappuccino to getting your hair cut, to putting fuel in the car, to doing the grocery shopping. And you decide on how much wham you get based on what your weekly spending needs are. So you go through and say, okay, what's my petrol? Am I going to do the grocery shopping? What's the expense going to be? And that's how you come up to that figure.
Okay, and what's the advantage of the system? What does it give couples? What's the thinking behind it?
Since children, we've been given a routine and been told what to do. So it's ingrained in us that we get up and we go to school. In school, we have a certain way of conforming, sitting and doing things. We're told to do our textbook in a certain way. When we finish school, we go to work and we have to be at work at a certain time. We are, as much as we may not like to say it, we are creatures of routine and habit. Some of us like variety a lot more than others, but what the bank account system gives us some structure. It just says, these are the rules. These are the money rules. These are the banking rules. When we get paid, our salary goes into our bills account. We automate all of our payments, so we take emotion out of making a spend. It just becomes automated. And then we give ourselves an amount of money that we can spend each week so we can go off and enjoy it and do what we want with it. That's our variety section. But there are 6 human needs. Generally speaking, certainty is one of them. And the bank account system gives us certainty that things are being met. But if we had so much certainty in our life, we'd get bored out of our head. So we also need some variety. And variety is another one of the 6 human needs. And the wham, the spending from the wham account, gives us some variety, gives us some choice to actually go and do what we want with the money, as long as we don't take out debt.
Okay. All right. Well, let's take Andy and Sarah a little further down the line then. And they've managed to save up a bit of money, and they're looking to buy a house, and they don't have enough for a deposit yet. are there steps that they could take to any tips you can give them for, as a couple jointly, other than increase your income and decrease your expenditure? Are there any ways they can save that deposit more quickly or more harmoniously as a couple? Are there things that each of them can do?
Okay, so there's a number of things that you can do. So starting at the income level. So again, going back to the compelling vision, the plan. What's the plan? Is the plan the intention to have a family? Okay, bring children into relationship. And if it is to have a family, bring children into relationship, what's the plan with working? Are both couples going to go to work after the children? Is one of them going to stay home? And if that's the case, if one of them's going to stay home, how can they manage on one income? So let's make decisions before the event occurs, and let's see if it can work out. So if the intention is, okay, one of us is going to stay home, male or female, the other one's going to go out to work. If we're going to live off one salary, why don't we try and do that now? Why don't we try and test pilot this, and let's live off of one salary now, and let's save all of the other salary. Okay. So that's one option, one thing to look at. The other thing is to say, okay, let's look at our spending. So we go through our bills account. Do we want it? Do we need it? Can we get the same experience for less? So we go through all our spending. Can we cut any fat off the bone to reduce our expenditure that's not necessary? Can we look at, which way to go? Can we look at debt? Do we have any unsecured debt? Can we clear any unsecured debt quickly? And we have a snowball system for that, where we structure our debt in a certain way so we rapidly overpay on our mortgages or our credit cards or loans. We can look at our income and say, well, how can we maximize our income? Can we do any overtime? Can we get paid a commission? Can we set up a second income? Can we do a different job? Network marketing tends to be a very big area where people can earn a reasonable amount of money as a second income. And people tend to overlook it because in the past it's been sort of clouded with sort of pyramid selling and sort of negative information. But today's marketplace, there are lots of very good network marketing businesses, from skincare to utility. So you kind of got to find the one that suits you as an individual. And then it's never been easier for us to sell things. Like when I was growing up, if I wanted to sell old stuff, you'd have to go out, pack a car up and go to a car boot sale. Now you just take a few snips of photographs. You can list it on eBay or Facebook. And there's plenty of other sites you can just go and sell these products. So get creative. Have a think. Ask yourself a question. How can I earn more money? What would need to happen for me to earn more money to get this deposit together? And then finally, there are certain products out there as well. So we have things like the Help to Buy ISA, and we have the LISA, the Lifetime ISA. And they're two products arranged by HMRC that give you a bonus on your money to help you move towards a house deposit. My preference of the two is the Lifetime ISA. That gives you a 25% bonus on any money you deposit in there up to £4,000. So you put £4,000 in, you get a £1,000 bonus, you got £5,000 in your pot. And that gets paid at the end of the tax year. So that's going to help, and you can each have one of those individually, so you can both do this.
Okay, so then you're ramping up your savings as much as possible through those schemes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. So there's lots of ways. It's sort of like asking yourself good questions. So have a plan, know what it is your goals are together and what your future looks like together. Decide whether you're going to manage the money jointly or individually, and then get creative. Ask yourself questions, and both put as much effort into it as you can.
Okay. Great, thanks. Okay, so then let's take them, I guess, to the final step for this conversation. So Andy and Sarah get married, they get their house, and they have kids. And what's your approach or your advice for couples when it comes to money management for children? It's not something that we're taught in school at any age. So it's something that really we're expected to pick up ourselves or from our families. And again, do you have any tips that can help parents manage their money for children?
Okay, so first, you say get married, have children. First thing they have to do is get a will. Okay, period. Go and sort yourself out a will, and seriously, even get yourself power of attorneys in place. So these sound two really boring documents that you kind of think, well, that's not actually moving me towards buying a house or sorting my money out or help my children financially. But if the trouble strikes your family, you'll be so glad that you've had those in place. Okay. Okay. So talking about children and money. So different families have different ways of raising their children. And when you have children in a relationship where the couples are together, it's a lot easier than when they are separated. So let's make sure we cover both. So raising children where couples are together, you need to decide what it is you want to do, whether you want to reward your children for tasks or physical work, or whether you even want to give children pocket money at all. It's my belief that children are going to be working. We got some tunes going on here. We got to start singing.
Sorry.
Or mine?
It's Mike. Apology.
Is he going to finish or?
I hope so.
No worries. That's okay. Done.
Okay. Sorry.
That's all right. Don't worry. So raising children together, you need to decide whether you're going to reward them for tasks or not. Now, it's my belief that in life, money doesn't just come to you. You have to work for money. Okay. So I want to reward my children for working for money. So we have a series of tasks where they do things like the rubbish, the garbage, and keep the house tidy and stuff, and they get paid a payment each month. And we link their payment to their age. So we pay £2 for each year of their age. That is going back to the bank account system, that is a regular payment from the bills account. It gets paid across onto their prepaid card. Now, some people might be thinking, oh my God, what you're doing, allowing your children to have credit cards and things. This is a prepaid card, it's a MasterCard. They can only spend up to the amount of money they have on their card. We use a card called OSPA, and it works brilliantly for them. And the reason we use a prepaid card as opposed to giving them cash was actually in the early days, I was getting into debt with my children. So my children would say, okay, pocket money time. Sorry, I haven't any cash on me. I'll owe you. And it would almost roll around to the following month. And I'd say, oh, I still owe you for last month as well. I don't have any cash on me. That's not a good lesson to teach, is it? Teaching them to be running into debt. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to make sure it was easy for me. And as everything, I want to try and automate it. I then put a prepaid card onto their credit card because I actually want them to control their spending and understand that credit cards aren't necessarily bad. It's the way you manage them. So I don't want to take this thing away from them that they're going to be exposed to when they're older. I don't want them to be excited by having a credit card when they're 18. I want them to think, well, actually, that's nothing new. There's nothing different. I've only got this amount of money to spend. I'm going to stay within my boundaries, my perimeters, my WAM. So we pay £2 for each year of their age. It gets automatically paid onto their OSPA card. And as a general overview, as a general rule, we buy their needs, they buy their wants. Now that's a very generalization, but it's a good way of separating, well, what do you buy and what do they buy? But if we're going shopping and they need something for school, that's a need, we'll buy that. If we're going shopping and they think, well, actually, I just want to buy all these coloring pencils, I want to buy this computer game, that's a want. And we'll generally get them to spend that, buy that, sorry. And the sort of, we have sort of parameters around spending as well. And one of the parameters generally is that we'll allow them to spend £1 for each year of their age without discretion. They can just go off and they can spend it. But if they want to spend more than £1 for each year of their age, we just want them to check in with us. We want them to come back and say, hey, look, so Isabella now is 11, so she might want to buy something for £20. We want them to come back in and say, hey, look, I want to buy this, it's £20. I've got the money in my card. Are you happy for me to buy it? And we're just going to say, well, if you check, you can buy it anywhere cheaper. If you check searching here, what are you going to use it for? How long are you going to use it for? Do you really need it? Why don't you sleep on it and wake up tomorrow? And if you still want it, then go ahead and buy it. We're just helping them. We're teaching them to make good decisions with money, as opposed to just saying, hey, look, you've got all this money, go spend it on whatever you want. So there's a couple of things there. One is we're linking the payment they get to work, chores. They know they've earned the money. We're also linking it with their age. So as they progress, as they get older, they know they're going to get paid a little bit more money. But we also increase their activities when we do that. And we link their spending to their age so that there's some kind of control, that they know that they've got some discretion themselves. They go off and do it. But in other senses, they know that actually there's a bit of rationalization so they don't just purely waste money.
Okay, so setting them up to understand as an adult what's important when it comes to money, staying out of debt, making yourself secure.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And we've even had the conversation with my son, who will be 13 in a couple of weeks, about, okay, in about 5 years' time, you're going to want to buy a car. We'll match your payment. So whatever you save will match. So he's going to want a car at 18, I'm sure. So he's got to start considering saving money and earning money now so that he can afford something when he gets to 18. So it's getting them to think, okay, we have money now, but it's also about giving them longer term plans.
And this is something that every parent, well, pretty much every parent can do. Pocket money is a fairly universal thing. So this is something for absolutely everyone.
Yeah, and we choose £1 for each year of their age. It could be 50p, it could be 10p. Okay, the amounts of money are not relevant per se. What's more important that there's some kind of structure there. And if you can't give any money at all, that's absolutely fine. Help your children understand how they can earn money. Give them some kind of skills and techniques on how they can earn money.
So, I mean, in all of this, then it almost doesn't matter what the parents' approach to money is. If they're not great with money, this is still a way of trying to instill different values in their kids. Yeah,
change the way it has been in the past. The past doesn't mean the future. Just because your family traditionally hasn't been very good with money, it doesn't mean your future generations also don't have to be good money. They certainly can. It's just changing decisions that they make. So that works pretty well. I think it works really well when the husband and wife or the couple are together. When children are raised to a single parent, sometimes money can be used as a lever, so as a bargaining chip. And then that's really when the couples have to kind of come together and discuss things for the greater good for their children and not for them, and trying to control things, and maybe have more discussions with your children about money and be a bit more open and just explain that, what's going on if one of the parties is giving lots of money to buy love, and just trying to explain why you can't do that because you don't have the money. But money and love are not the same thing. You're not buying love. Love is given as a time and as an emotion as opposed to physical payment. And really just try and get the child to understand about money and what you can and can't afford, and just be a bit more clear, have more communication. I think when there's separate parents and children involved, the communication has to go up a lot to make sure you're clear, because the child is going to get influences from both sides. And if the parents can't agree on something, at least you make sure it's clear with the children what's important.
Okay.
So how?
All right, great. Well, yeah, I think we've taken Andy and Sarah from barely met to teaching their kids everything they know. So yeah, that's excellent. Thank you.
Good. So just as a recap, be clear on what it is you want. Make sure you both got goals. Have a system, have a structure. Use the bank account system, and think about the pocket money system is a way of rewarding your children for activities and tasks that they do. And if you do, as soon as you get into a relationship, make sure you get a will and make sure you get power of attorneys in place, because although they're boring documents, they're essential. But, thanks, Paul. Good to speak.
Great stuff as always. Thanks, Warren. See you next week. Cheers.